Wagwan, everyone, and welcome back to Film Shrapnel. It's me, Tobias. It's you, Craig. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing great. I was just thinking, I don't know if we should call it Deathmatch Month anymore. It's like Deathmatch Summer now.
Yeah, Deathmatch Summer. Yeah. So, apologies to everyone. We've had a hiatus. We've had many hiatuses this year.
It's been really tough.
Difficulties. It has been tough. We've had technical difficulties. We've had holidays. We've had work stuff, uni stuff, lots of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff still coming for us as well. So please be patient with us. We are still going to try and get this A-grade content out to you as often as we can.
Yeah.
Anyway, today is all about Hunger Games. Now, Craig, I have a little confession to make.
Go on.
So we all know that we all fully expected, including me, we all expected I would hate Hunger Games. And quite like it. I liked it enough to watch all of them. We're only talking about the first one, but I did watch all of them.
You watched all four?
Yeah. And the new one, prequel.
You watched that as well? Wow. You really liked it then?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Enjoyed it a lot. I'm
really quite surprised because I was really I remember we were talking about it before and we were really hesitant. Should we include Hunger Games? And you were super against it.
Do it.
Yeah. And then I remember you were in Vietnam at one point and you were telling me how it was on the TV and I could just watch it. Nah, I don't want to watch it. It's on TV, but I'm just not going to do it. And then now you've watched it and now you love them, which is really crazy.
Yeah. No, I actually enjoy the idea. I think the idea is really solid. Obviously, some of the execution I still think is awful. And I don't love the whole young adult fiction style of writing. But overall, I think it's a good laugh. I enjoy the franchise. I think the world is quite interesting and I'd be very interested in learning more about the world, to the point where I went to my local library and checked it out. I'm going to read it.
Wow. This is such a transformation for you.
I know. I can't believe it. I might give Twilight a go now.
No. Come on. If you start watching Twilight, then we're not doing this podcast anymore.
We're not friends anymore.
No.
But look, I will say, I think there's an awful lot to enjoy about Hunger Games. I will say this. You won't know because you haven't seen... Have you watched any of the other ones besides this one?
Yeah, I think I watched the other three, but that was 6-7 years ago or something. So a really long time ago. And I can't really remember them.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's in them. You've actually got a cracking cast of people. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in them, Woody Harrelson, you've got Elizabeth Banks, really good actors. You've got the weird kid from American Beauty with a weird beard.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out who he was because he looked really familiar. And then, I saw that he was from... I don't think he's been in anything else, but he looks very...
No.
He does really much look like a psychopath, that guy.
The only thing I can think of that he's been in besides American Beauty in this is he was the bad guy in that Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider film. But besides that, I can't think of anything else.
He's waiting for a good psychopath role, I think.
Yeah, this is the thing. He's sort of like a poor man's Jake Gyllenhaal.
I was just thinking he could play his brother or something in a film. Yeah.
But Jake Gyllenhaal's obviously been far more prolific and successful. And to be fair, more charismatic and charming. Hence why he's had more of a career.
Yes, very much so.
But to be fair, we're not here to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal, however you pronounce his name.
We'll pronounce it the way that everyone else already thinks it's pronounced, which is that way.
What, Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal, come on. It's going to be that way now. If everyone calls you that way.
Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal, right? Because you would say it that way in English, wouldn't you?
I don't think.
Unless you're from Sweden.
G or a soft G? I don't know.
No idea. Anyway, see, I'm kind of on the opposite side of things. Like, because I watched it, I thought it was alright, and then we
Yeah.
watched the other 3 movies. I thought they were okay, but I've kind of more leaned towards your way of looking at it from before, which is funny because I think you were judging it before you watched it, and I've watched it, and now I've watched it again, and I know my opinion is changing. Well, it's not really changing. It's just it feels like there's not much really going on, in my opinion. I mean, I kind of see, like, after watching the other not survival, deathmatch games that we've had, this one feels very dry.
Absolutely. I will say this is the worst one that we've done for this sort of theme. Like, I definitely think for me, Death Race is a work of art. Like maybe accidental art, but still a work of art. What else did we do? Battle Royale is phenomenal, and Running Man is a film that I have huge amounts of nostalgia for because I grew up watching army films. So for me, this is still the worst one of the bunch, but I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Well, I will say I needed to get into the other films. Like once I got the first one done, it's like, okay, I'll give the others a go. And it was the second one where I was really like, okay, I feel invested in this world now. I want to know what happens next. I'm actually interested. But it did. I think it took 2 films. But it's gonna be hard for me to review this now after watching all of them. I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna end up thinking about the other stuff as well.
What did you?
I'll try my best not to.
Because I feel that so most of these films have very similar themes. They're forced into basically a battle to kill each other. Yeah, rebellious stuff. It's like oppressive regime shit going on.
Yeah, there's like an uprisings happening in the background of the game. The game is sort of bringing to the forefront of society what's wrong with the government and all this. And yeah, all of them have they all walk a very similar path. But they do it in different ways.
So I was thinking, for you, what makes this one different? Because there are a couple of things I was thinking about, but I'm wondering what you think.
So if I'm perfectly honest, I think this film is treading, and obviously the book as well, although I haven't read it, but I think they're treading very, very closely to Battle Royale. Like, it is basically Battle Royale. But instead of, like I believe it is also children in Hunger Games. Like obviously Battle Royale, it's like one class picked by lottery, whereas in the Hunger Games, it's one male. Because they all seemingly are adolescents, so it seems that once you get past a certain age, you won't get picked. But you have a boy and a girl from each district, 24, and you represent your district. Now, I think like the way the world is sort of like laid out, that each district is responsible for a different part of like, construction or manufacturing for like the main city. Coal mining is one of them, or what else? Whatever. But there's a fishing district. But every district is responsible for an element of life. And I like this kind of format. I like how each district is sort of varying degrees of, how impoverished they are. I like how, like each district seems to be, they all have their own sense of character, I guess. I like the idea that this is it District 13 that Katniss is from.
12, I can't remember.
District 12. So District 12, there's only ever been one winner of the Hunger Games representing District 12. And that was Hamish, or whatever his name is. Woody Harrelson. What's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Hamish? Oh,
Hamish.
Oh, yeah. That was something that I wrote down in my notes that really annoyed me. I thought his name was Hamish for ages.
Yeah.
Right? And then the credits come up. His name is Hey Mitch. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I know. What is the point of reinventing the names here? I mean, I just don't. It just seems like a waste of time, to be
I
honest.
know, right? Like, I suppose, like when you do that, it kind of helps you get it in the future. When you make the names a bit strange, you can it helps you imply we're so far in the future that naming conventions have changed, or we're so far away from the planet Earth and on somewhere else where naming conventions are different. Like it sort of helps you establish your setting. But then you have things like, you know, Harry Potter, for example. Half of the characters are named ridiculous things, but then the other half of the characters have got normal names like Harry and Ron. But then why is there a girl called Hermione? That's ridiculous. Why isn't she called Claire or something? So yeah, I agree with you. I think these naming conventions sometimes they're a bit distracting.
Yeah, I just wrote the note. Mine is just four words long. The names are stupid.
The names are stupid. Like, I suppose Katniss is probably the best of it all. It's like decent. It's okay. I don't hate the name Katniss. But it sounds like catnip. So many times I think they say catnip.
I still think Katniss sounds stupid as well, to be honest.
Oh no, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it's the best of a bad bunch. It doesn't offend me as much as Hey Mitch. Because I feel like you have to pronounce it Hey Mitch. But I thought they were saying Hamish for ages. I will say, that guy from American Beauty, he has got a really fucking stupid beard. What did you think of all the fashion stuff? Like, obviously you've got what's his name? Oh, the funny guy. Oh, I forget his name. Stanley Tucci. Is that his name?
I think it's Stanley Tucci.
He's always got mad hair. And Elizabeth Banks. I mean, I have to say, I'm head over heels in love with Elizabeth Banks, but in this film, I'm really not. I've always found her I've always said the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Maybe an exaggeration, but I'm madly in love with her.
She's not even recognizable in this.
No. I mean, I don't think she gives a bad performance. It's just I barely recognize her.
Yeah. But I will say, speaking of the cast, I did like Donald Sutherland as like the kind of ruler. I thought he fit that quite well. President
Snow. Yeah.
That's a normal name.
He's a good character. Yeah, I know. Right. So in the prequel, it's about his sort of rise to. Well, I thought he was going to be about him becoming president, but it's not. It's about him sort of revamping the Hunger Games. Before he got involved, it was just like a gladiatorial combat situation. And then he got involved and gave it that sort of commercial flavor to get everyone like loving it and invested. So there's definitely room for them to do another one about him becoming president, but I quite like the prequel as well, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but you were asking me about the fashion. I didn't write anything about the fashion, although I did think it was a bit too much. I don't know, because like
the thing is, does it accurately satirize what they're the media in the way that they're doing? I think so. Like it's a good. I think it's a
kinda.
Yeah, like they've taken like the sort of image of the media to the extreme. I get that. It's just it's not very visually appealing or interesting for that matter. Like they're really trying to.
Should it be visually appealing though?
Well, I think it should be. I think it should be interesting to like. I think it should tickle your intrigue without annoying you, and I think it is very annoying to the point where you're not intrigued anymore.
It's interesting. It's like this is how you could be eccentric. This is the allowed way to be eccentric. Any other way of being eccentric probably isn't allowed. So although like they're all trying to be eccentric in their own way, it all kind of looks like the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I think that's intentional.
Yeah, I think maybe that is.
But then there's so many. Sorry. But then there's so many people who don't dress like that.
Mm.
Like Donald Sunderland, he has normal hair, relatively normal clothes compared to everyone else anyway. And why is it that Katniss is the only one that has like a fire cape? Like if that existed, wouldn't everyone buy it? Because it's cool. But she's the only one that
Yeah.
has it.
I don't remember where that came from. It was like one of the guy's ideas.
Oh, it was
who designed his.
Yeah, it's
Was it Lenny Kravitz?
Lenny Kravitz. I
Yeah.
didn't recognize him for the lot. I was like, who the fuck is that? I really recognize
Yeah,
him.
without the dreads.
Yeah, it was really like when I saw it, I couldn't believe. I was like, yeah, it is Lenny Kravitz. But he is like incredibly handsome. The handsome man.
He's a good-looking guy.
He is crazy good-looking.
Do you think that like there was one bit where it felt there was almost like some kind of relationship or sexual tension between him and Katniss that felt a bit strange? And I don't know why they did that.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like with I don't know how he's portrayed in the book, but I got the impression that he was like more. I don't think he bats for Katniss's team.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's intentional or if it's just wishful thinking because I think Lenny Kravitz is gorgeous. I don't know which one that is. Yeah. I suppose we should get into the nitty-gritty of the plot. So let's start from the beginning when they get chosen. So like they have this ceremony, like an annual ceremony to pick the contestants of the Hunger Games. What do they call it again? What's the...
I did not write that down. There was some process or something about it.
Or something. It's called the reckoning or something. Anyway, whatever it is, but the process of picking the contestants. And obviously Katniss' sister gets selected, and Katniss immediately offers herself as tribute. Now, personally, I love this. I think this is great because this is the sort of thing I would do. Like, there's no way in a million years I would want to fight in the Hunger Games, but if my little brother was selected, I'd immediately offer myself as tribute. Like, just pure selflessness. Like, yeah, I know I'm going to die. Yeah, but I'm not.
But would you?
Like,
do you think your brother would do it for you though?
Oh fuck no, he's a little twat. But yeah, no, I like that because, like, you know, it gets me all sad inside. It gets me all But yeah, and
then we get that little twat.
I did feel that this film, it's not as joyful as Battle Royale. Like Battle Royale, even when they're all scared, they're getting presented like the rules of the game with this really funny TV presenter, like sort of, you know, children's TV host. Like there's still joy, even in Takeshi Kitano go, all right, listen up everyone, like, you know, sort of thing. Like it's there's a sense of joy in Battle Royale. I don't think this one's very like depressing. Like the opening, that the colours are all washed out. Oh, we're going to get picked for the games. Oh no. Liam Hemsworth's in this movie, by the way. You didn't mention him.
Yeah, he hasn't got a very big role.
His role gets bigger throughout the rest, yeah. But again, I was thinking they should have got Miley Cyrus to play Katniss.
Okay.
Because they were married, weren't they? They were married, and then
they
broke up. Yeah, and then when they broke up, that's why she wrote that Flowers song. I can buy myself flowers. You don't know enough about Miley Cyrus, huh?
No, not my thing. Sorry. But, you know,
go on.
But just thinking about the differences between this movie and Battle Royale, yeah, I do agree. Like, the big thing is that she's quite gritty, really. Yes. Like, even like when they're all on their way walking to this big ceremony to find out who will be selected. The ground is just like mud. They're all wearing like really plain traditional white America hillbilly kind of clothing. They look like they're going to go to a church or some bullshit, and they have no money, but they're not happy. And I thought, this is a very interesting little way of looking at America. Because I feel, I don't think that, I don't know now if they would make it look like that. Like maybe it wouldn't be so gritty looking. So I kind of appreciated that because, the thing about Battle Royale is and there's so much love stories, and the kids are just too nice. While the kids in this movie, most of them are little shits.
Yeah,
and probably they deserve to die.
Yeah, there's no one to root for. Like, I couldn't give a fuck if any of them died.
You only care about Katniss and the other guy that's with him that I forgot his name. Whatever that guy is called.
Baker Boy.
These are the only two people. And there's also that girl Rue as well, which somehow, I don't know why, she just becomes friends with Katniss. I don't know, she just takes a liking to her. And they just become friends. I don't know if she can like read her mind and see that she's a good person or something. I don't know why they made it that way. All the kids.
It just seems that they decide they're friends without contact. Yeah.
And then you have, this is another thing, by the way, as well, which I don't like about this movie, is that you just have like a group. Like they're all going to kill each other anyway, but for some reason they've just decided that they're going to be like the high school kind of bully stereotype, and I was like, for fuck's sake, I'm kind of fed up with this.
So daft.
And in this setting, it doesn't make sense.
Like, if anything, I'll tell you this: if you were going to make alliances with people, even if that made sense, you would make alliances with the most weak, and then that way together you can survive. And then once you're done, you can now kill all the weak ones. Kept them alive. Save them for the end.
But did you notice that Jack Quaid was one of the bullies?
I've thought about this. I don't know who that is. Which one's that?
From The Boys.
Oh, yeah. Huey. Yeah.
Yeah, Huey. Which I thought was really funny because, like, he's such a nerd in that. But now here he's trying to be, like, the jockey. Like, there's always, like, the main jock bully. And there's always, like, his, like, friends who always just laugh at his jokes, like standing around, and he's like kind of one of those kind of guys standing around trying to
he feels wrong in the role. He feels very wrong in the role. Although I don't know if you've seen the new Scream film. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen any of them, I think.
Oh, then I'm going to spoil the new one for you.
Go for it. It's okay.
Spoiler alert, everyone, if you haven't seen the new Scream film. But he's also in that. He's the new boyfriend of the main character. And, oh shit, you're also a serial killer in your spare time. So he's actually the bad guy in the new Scream.
Okay.
Big twist reveal. Sorry, guys.
I feel like that's one of those twists that would be obvious.
Yeah, it was obvious. But it does feel like a miscast again. I think he's really good in The Boys. But anything else I've seen him in, it does feel like a miscast. Certainly in this. So I think must be before The Boys. And it does feel like a miscast.
This film came out in 2012 or something. So he'd be about 20. I think he's born the same year as I am.
I think The Boys only started just before the pandemic.
Yeah, maybe 2018 or something. Well, when you have famous parents, it does help. Because he's his mother is Meg Ryan, I think, and his father is Dennis Quaid. So it was always going to be famous.
To be fair, I do like Dennis Quaid.
I don't know. I think I've seen him in too many crap action movies to really like him.
I like Randy Quaid better.
He's a bit of a... I think he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, isn't he? Bit nuts.
Who, Dennis Quaid?
No, Randy Quaid.
I thought he was dead.
I think. I can't remember. I get mixed up. I just remember reading something about the Quaid's family being a bit like that.
Yeah, but good actors, though. I will say something that is a similarity to Battle Royale, although I hated this. I don't know about you. They play a video for that for when they do the selection process, and everyone watches it and explains all the rules of the Hunger Games. And it's like, well, this is an annual event. You all definitely are watching this event. Like, you maybe in the other ones that we've talked about this, you can make, like we said in Battle Royale, like, why do they need this explained? Surely they know about Battle Royale being an act that's passed if it's something that's being reported on in the media. So surely they should know. This, for sure, it gets broadcast on the TVs in every district. So there's no excuse. There is no need for them to show how the rules are in every ceremony every year. It is just for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, completely.
And I didn't like
100%.
That annoyed me.
Yeah. But what do you think about what's her name? The actress who played Katniss. I've always forget her name.
I hate Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, when I say hate her, I don't hate her. I'm sure she's quite a lovely, beautiful human being. But I just don't like her as an actress. I didn't like her as Mystique. I don't buy her as Katniss. For me, she's the weakest thing in all the Hunger Games films and in the X-Men films. I'm not a huge fan. But at the same time, I haven't seen what was it that she got? Did she win an Oscar, or she definitely got nominated? When was it Silver Linings Playbook? I still haven't seen that, and I hear it's amazing.
I watched that. No, don't watch it. It's shit. I don't think you'll like it. I was super disappointed because everyone was hyping it up.
Really?
And I think that at this point in my life, I realized don't listen to people. It's like,
I mean,
so many people
I have heard it's
hype shit. No, I think I don't know why people think it's so good. I think it's really trashy. Don't watch it. I don't know why people like it so much. There was another film like that she was in. Maybe we should do
an episode on that.
Oh, please don't do that to me. Please don't. I was so disappointed. I was expecting really more. I was expecting it to be smarter. I was expecting something different to happen, but what you expect happens. And no, don't watch it. There was another film that she was in where she was like an inventor or something, and Robert De Niro plays her father. And again, everyone said, oh, yeah, this is a great movie. Like, the reviews were great. And I watched it. It's like, why the fuck are people raving about this film for? It's crap. There's nothing interesting. It's really like the acting is not that great. The plot's not very interesting. Why is everyone loving on this film for? So I don't know.
You know what? I think it might be really interesting for us to do a Jennifer Lawrence month and see if we can't convert ourselves. Because the whole world seems to love her, and I don't get it. Like, she's obviously a very beautiful person, but like, I just don't get her as an actress. I don't buy her performances. I find her very wooden. And obviously, these films that are held in higher esteem that she's in, that you've seen, you also disagree that they're any good. So it might be interesting to do a Jennifer Lawrence month. Maybe we'll discuss that later on.
Yeah.
But there is one saving grace in the movie. They all get chosen. Katniss volunteers, and then they get given their mentors, and their mentors are previous winners from the districts. And this is where we're introduced to Woody Harrelson, or Harleston, however you pronounce his name. So however you pronounce his name, he is fucking awesome in everything he's in. And he is an absolute pisshead in these films.
Yeah. Although he does stop drinking at some point in this movie. You notice, like, there's one point where someone's about to pour him a drink and he puts his hand over. He doesn't want it. Like, he kind of he starts off with really super low expectations, doesn't give a shit. But slowly he starts to see Katniss's kind of potential, and he's like getting all involved in shit. So,
but he falls off the wagon by the second movie. So they get trained up, and they've got to do all this like branding shit. I really like all of this stuff. I actually found myself enjoying the build up to the death match more than I like the death match itself, which is interesting. I think this is the only film that we've done in the last few episodes where I've enjoyed the world building leading up to the game way more than I enjoyed the actual violence. Because let's be honest, the violence should be that's like the selling point. It's an action movie. It's, explosions and shooting people, good fun. But I actually thought that the world building was far more interesting. Having all this, like, getting sponsorship deals for the games, selling yourself to the public in order to improve your chances for survival, and all this stuff, I actually really like. I liked all of that. I think that's really interesting, really, really fun satire of how Hollywood and media in general just sort of produce, icons or celebrities, or it's all about the story, right? Because she had a story. She volunteered for her sister, and it's really like, the shades of, like, Pop Idol and an X Factor, where people that might not have the best voice, but because my dad died of cancer last year, or I've been homeless my whole life, and this has been my like, when you've got that story, that carries them even further into the competition than they really should go. And, like, you look at Gareth Gates, let's be honest, the boy didn't have the best voice, but he got to the final, and it's because he had a really bad stutter. But when he sang, the stutter went away, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, how brave!" So he got to the final, and I really find it interesting how they do it in this one, and because it's interesting, isn't it, that they're doing it for survival. They're selling themselves for survival, and I suppose if you transpose that to the real world, these celebrities are basically doing the same. They're trying to maintain their career. They keep trying to sell themselves to you and make sure they're relevant in the public eye, so they don't lose their stardom, so they don't lose their career. And I thought, I just felt there was a lot of shades of it that I thought were very, very, indicative of real life in a very satisfying, satirical way. So this is why I was surprised at how much I enjoyed Hunger Games, and the sequels as well. It's all the build-up stuff that I think's the best.
I was just thinking about how this genre kind of has a lot of, like, has this in the other few movies we've watched as well. So we have it in Death Race, we had it in The Running Man. We didn't have it in what's it called? Battle Royale. But we have it here. And I'm just thinking, like, so in the 70s with Death Race, you have kind of like the news reporters, like, going around interviewing people. Then you have in the 80s with The Running Man, it's more like a game show, like more like you can imagine this guy hosting a game of Deal or No Deal or something like this, or the Wheel of Fortune or something.
But also the news, or still, like, we still get news reports throughout Running Man. So the mainstream news media still plays a role in what we see.
Yeah, and then in the 2000s or 2010s, I can't remember which year this one came out in. We have, as you mentioned, the kind of X Factor, Pop Idol kind of feel. So, like, the genre is kind of reflecting a bit on the times of what's mostly getting people's attention, I guess. Like, the biggest media thing there is, it's always tying to that, which is interesting. The genre is growing, and it feels like it's always latching on to. You always have your death matches, you always have your violence and they're killing each other and shit, but there's always, like, that media side that needs to be critiqued depending on what year it is, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's important to. I think it's a big part. I think let's at the end of, when we finish speaking about Hunger Games, let's actually reflect on what era we think best handled it as a concept. That'll be interesting to discuss.
But it's tricky to do that because we're both in our 30s, and, like,
it's true.
How conscious were we around the time of Battle Royale, which I think was like 2000 or something? Like, we didn't really know what was going on. We were just kids, and we don't know anything about the 80s. We didn't live through them or the 70s.
We also weren't in Japan.
we also were in Japan. That's another big thing, yeah. So we can't. I think if we try to do that, we'll only be one-sided. To be fair,
maybe a little. I'll tell you one thing that annoyed me. I hate how they handled all these flashbacks to the boy throwing Katniss to bread.
Yeah, they did that quite a lot, didn't they? And
yeah,
it was just
so annoying.
I think once would have been fine. I think they were trying to play it as like a different way. Like the first time, it felt more like he was being a dick.
Yeah, they want to reveal that he's a good guy by the end of it, but it's like, but you're showing the audience Katniss thinking about it. She's not going to stop thinking about the good bit. If anything, the good bit is the thing she's thinking about. So you're misleading the audience, or you're misrepresenting Katniss's emotion in those moments that she has that flashback until the end, when she has the full flashback and we get the full context. And I just feel like that's not how you should use flashbacks. I didn't like how, because I'm a teacher, and flashbacks is actually something we focus on in one of our units as a storytelling device. And like, I just feel that the way it's done in Hunger Games, it's more confusing than it is. Like, they're trying to build tension, they're trying to set up this twist, but it doesn't feel earned because you're purposefully misleading the audience, and not in a way that's sort of stylized. Like, if you can stylize being a unreliable narrator to the audience, 100% go for it. Just take Usual Suspects as an example. But when you're just flat out lying to the viewer, it becomes annoying when you do it. And it's like, yeah, when they reveal, oh, he's actually nice, I'm like, well, I just feel lied to then, because you showed me thinking about him. And what you showed me implied she was pissed off with him, but really she likes him. So, you just didn't, I just don't feel like it's a good way to tell the story.
No, I agree.
I think perhaps you could have shown it at the beginning of the film, and then like interrupt the audience's perception of it, and then reveal later on that we didn't see everything. But when you do it as a flashback from her perspective, you're implying that she's feeling something that she's actually not feeling. And I just think that's poor storytelling. But maybe I'm wrong. But I just didn't like it. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't think there was much of a point. Why was she even there, lying in the rain anyway? Isn't she supposed to be like a great survival expert? Like, surely she could have found shelter or something. Seems strange to me.
Maybe this is before she got good at bow and arrow. But like, it does feel like everyone in District 12, like, they're the most impoverished district, it seems. So,
But she seems very capable of just looking after herself. She doesn't need someone to throw bread to her. I don't know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But maybe the book gives more context. I do think it's important. Maybe. We probably should have read the book. I will read the book. I'm interested enough to read the book.
You will let me know how that goes.
I will. Unless you don't want me
to. Do it. You already got the book. Can I ask you something, though? I do think, though, again, thinking of how this one... Because I feel that this one's a bit... It doesn't feel as interesting as the other one. So what I'm trying to do is think what makes it stand out. And one of the things I'm thinking about now is the kind of survivalist kind of aspect of it, which I think also became more popular in the US and on TV around this time in like the 2000s, 2010s. Like people surviving in crazy wilderness environments. You had Bear Grylls on TV back then as well, before everyone found out that he was a massive faker. So I'm wondering, like, what did you think of the survival stuff in it? Because it does take up quite a bit of the film. Like when they finally get into the games, because the other ones don't really have this. We have a lot of violence.
So if I'm honest, this was an element I really, really liked. Like, I've often said, like, I remember when I first watched Bear Grylls, I think I might have even said this to you at uni. I could watch a film about someone having to survive in the wilderness. Like that, to me, would be like incredible. I've had so many ideas since this thought for different things. Like, I started writing something that took place in a desert. So I did research on desert survival, so I could think about different things that the characters could do in order to prevent, getting sick or whatever. So I think these are actually really cool elements to add to any kind of film, not just an action film, but any kind of film. I think 127 hours is is really good, but again, like, we don't see him do much in the way of survival because he's so stuck there. Like being able to go and find resources and gather stuff, and then be able to try and come up with methods of either escape or survival. That sort of shit. Like, go A-team mode and start building shit. That sort of shit I want to see. So I like the survival stuff. I think it's a nice way to break up the film as well. With all, like, instead of having it wall to wall violence, you can slow the film down, slow the pacing down when you need to, and just do it about cleaning a wound or whatever. I like that. I think that stuff, it adds to the tension. It gives you more flavor. It gives you more opportunities for emotional beats. So for me, I love it. I love the idea of adding that survival flavor.
Yeah, I think it allowed it to separate itself from previous films a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that in the other three. I suppose maybe in Death Race you can maybe argue like the sort of car maintenance while they're driving maybe could count for something, because it's a different environment, obviously. But maybe you could put that in the same bracket. But it feels very different. So I think that does set this film apart from the others, for sure.
Yeah, fair play.
I will. So when the game starts, did you not find it interesting that he started the countdown from like fucking 40 or something? Really weird choice.
Did they? From 40? I didn't notice that.
All I wrote down is this countdown is ridiculously long, and they're literally going to say every number. I couldn't believe it. Like, why wouldn't you just start counting from 5? Weird. Now, I wrote down that the first Hunger Game is the 74th Hunger Games, so they've been doing this for 74 years. I would love to see, like, year 1, Hunger Games year 1, like, why this society decided to do it. We get word, we hear that there was a rebel uprising, and that this is like the sort of, it's a method to keep people in their place. I'd like to see that rebel uprising and the world that existed before. This thing, I do think they set up a really interesting world that I'm more than happy to explore. I hope they make more movies and more prequels. I actually do like some of the elements of this world. Same as Harry Potter. Like, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I've read 6 of the books. I was invested to an extent because I liked the world that the characters resided in. I just didn't love all of the books, or I didn't love all of the films. At least.
Yeah, sometimes I'm trying to remind myself when I watch this, or I critique it as well, that it comes from the young adult genre, and so like,
and it feels like it does as well.
Yeah,
it's very
so
noticeable.
Like I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think who the audience of this is, because the things that interest me are different because I'm older. I'm not so interested in this kind of stuff. I think it was young adult genre stuff that it can feel quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Cheesy, not always, but
because I
kind of straightforward.
For me, this film, these kinds of films, I lump them all in with Twilight. That's the kind of vibe I get from them. That's the kind of market I expect people are watching Twilight fans are probably watching Hunger Games, are probably reading Hunger Games. That's how I equate it. There's also that Maze Runner franchise that I haven't watched. There's also that Divergent trilogy that I have watched, but I don't really remember much because they weren't great. That had Shailene Woodley in it. That's the only thing I remember about it. And there's a guy called Tobias. It's the only thing I remember. But yeah, I pretty much lump all of those stories in with one another. They all feel very samey. In tone.
But thinking about it, but when you think of it that way, this is actually quite good for that genre, isn't it?
Yes.
Really.
I think this is a really good example of the genre. Even though before watching it, I was really a bit of a hater. Now watching it, I'm like, actually, this is probably the best example the young adult fiction genre has. Certainly in movie form, anyway.
Yeah. You want some criticism that I dug up about this film? A little bit of it that you might find interesting.
Well, this is the thing. I actually think it's really easy to criticize this film. And I was surprised at how little I wanted to criticize. Like, it's easy to criticize. There's so many gaping problems, but I did think it was far more enjoyable than I was expecting it to be. Weird. But go on.
Fair play.
What criticism have you drummed up?
Only a few bits and pieces. So Roger Ebert, I think I cite him so much when I was
going to say I know you're going to mention Ebert at some point.
Yeah, well, it's because usually I'm looking at this stuff through Wikipedia. Like, I always go through the criticism section and see what people have said. They've always divided that in a very logical way, like depending on how people perceive the movie. Like, maybe if it's a good movie, they'll always put the positive first and they'll go into the negative, or start with a negative first. If it's a bad movie, they go to positive, and if it's mixed, it'll be a bit, yeah. But yeah, they almost always mention him, so that's why I always focus on him, I think. But his main criticism was it felt too long, and I do see what he means.
Yes, I actually agree. I think we're an hour in before the game starts. I think it takes an hour for it to really kick off.
Yeah. So because I remember watching it thinking like, come on, let's just get to the end already. Also, my internet was a bit shit and I had to keep stopping it, so that didn't help. Another thing as well, but I don't know what I think about this criticism. I think this is a bit unfair. So some people criticized Jennifer Lawrence because she looked too womanly and she should have been skinnier, because like she's supposed to be from like this desperate kind of sector or whatever, where everyone's like kind of like impoverished.
Wait,
but I don't know.
You mean people were calling her fat?
No, like she was like she looked like a grown woman, kinda. Like she had woman shapes. She wasn't like a skinny boneless, not boneless, but like a skinny teenager. You know what I mean?
I lost my bones. It's because I'm in my early 30s, but to me she looked like, because obviously we've mentioned it before as well on the podcast, how they always hire people older than they really are meant to be in the movie. They always get like a person in their early 20s to play a 15 or 16-year-old. And on that basis, I think cinematically speaking, she looks the right age. But only because I've grown accustomed to everyone looking like they're in their early 20s.
Yeah, I think she was about 20 when she was in this.
Yeah, I'd say that's how she looks. But she's playing like 16 or whatever. That's quite normal for Hollywood, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit of an unnecessary criticism. And also, so I also read that some people argued that the comparisons to Battle Royale are unfair. It's just that Battle Royale dominated the genre for so long and became like the standard that everyone is like measuring it to be I think best.
I think the last 4 recordings we've done is conclusive proof that Battle Royale isn't the only film that has dominated the genre. If anything, we have, there were so many from the 70s that we were like, well, we'll do Death Race. We've already done Rollerball, but there's loads from the 70s. Like if anything, the genre sort of died down, and Battle Royale was a bit of an outlier. I don't think it's an unfair comparison, because I think once the game gets going, it's the same movie. Once the game gets going, but Battle Royale still, like, it does it better. I think it's much more fun. Like, it's joyous. It's not boring in it. Like, this is the thing. Hunger Games has boring moments. It has sad moments and like it feels depressed. Whereas Battle Royale, it feels like everyone involved is having a right laugh making it. So you have a right laugh watching it.
Yeah, I think now Squid Game kind of took the baton.
Oh yeah,
from
absolutely. Like if we were to do another episode, I would imagine we'd probably do Squid Game or that other Japanese one. What was it? Alice in Borderland. Is that Japanese? I think it's Japanese.
I have no idea. I've heard of it, but I never watched it. No idea. No, I don't know anything about it.
To be fair, since Squid Game, there's been a few Squid Game clones to have been made. There's actually a couple. There's not just Alice in Borderland. I'm pretty sure there are more. But I don't think it's an unfair comparison. I think like I say, I think what sets Hunger Games apart from Battle Royale is like the build-up, the use of the media, the use of the sponsorship stuff, showing how people in the real world interact with the game. Whereas Battle Royale, it doesn't do that. We don't. We just get one scene where a bunch of reporters are reporting on the latest winner, and then we never really see the media play a part again in the rest of the film. But we know they're involved in the background somewhere. We just don't really get to see their role in terms of the game. We don't get to see how the public interact with the game.
True.
But the thing is, Battle Royale, it gets straight to it. Like within 15 minutes, they're playing the game. And it's hyper violent as well. It's not like realistic violent. It's like violent plus. So it's a little silly. You've got people with like, an arrow through their neck. You have people accidentally getting poisoned and then doing a giant Mexican standoff. Like, it's flashy violence. It's not realistic violence. It's over the top. And that's really fun. Running Man, incredibly over the top, really fun. Death Race, incredibly tongue-in-cheek and OTT, really fun. This one isn't over the top. If anything, it's restraining itself. I think it takes itself too seriously once the killing starts. If I'm honest, I think it's the film out of the four that takes itself the most seriously. It's not having as much fun as the other ones, and I think you need that fun to truly satirize, modern media. I think you need that satire for sure, and violence in society. If you don't have that satire, then maybe a young adult fiction style story isn't the avenue to go if you want to make a point.
I think probably the next big movie to satire current media in this way, in like a kind of deathmatch format, probably will take on social media, probably short form videos or something. It feels like that's where it's going to go. That's my guess.
You say that, but it looks like Marvel, they have announced that they're going to do a Secret Wars Avengers film, and that pretty much is Battle Royale but with superheroes. So even Marvel are going to start doing it. They're going to do the Death Game story, where we're going to have Spider-Man having to team up with, I don't know, Red Skull or whatever, because it's about surviving and whatnot.
I don't know what I think about that. I do kind of like it when it's normal people.
It's going to be good or bad, one or the other.
Yeah. All right, man. Shall we wrap this up, because we're almost an hour in?
All right, let's wrap this up.
Do you have any last thoughts?
Okay, so really quickly, I'll run through some small points that I've written down. there's one kind of dialogue I really like from Donald Sutherland. He says, I'm pretty sure I wrote this down verbatim. You can have a spark of hope as long as it's contained. I'm like, whoa, that's just, I love that. Like, I feel like that's exactly how capitalism works. So, yeah, that's how the American dream is structured. You know, spark of hope. You know, so they can be blinded to the truth. Like, I really like this concept. I liked a lot of the commentary during the game, like when it would cut back to Stanley Tucci or whatever. I liked all of that stuff. It just didn't happen enough, I felt. I feel like once the game got started, I would have liked more of the media stuff to play a role. I'll tell you what I also like. The bit where they get killed by the bees, that's really fun, where they go all swollen and gross. Probably my favourite death in the movie. What did you think of the bird communication? Being able to, like, communicate through birds?
Kind of a bit bullshitty, to
Yeah,
be
I
honest.
thought that was naff. Yeah, I didn't like that. That's something I hated. I liked how District 11, they're watching the game live, and when Rue dies, that like sort of inspires them to start an uprising.
Yeah, but wouldn't that happen like every year?
Yeah, I would imagine it would. I can't, like, I don't know how they've gotten away with this for 75 fucking years.
I mean, right at the very beginning, the little redheaded boy got murdered.
Yeah.
No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
So,
mate,
I don't know.
Mad. There's no consistency. Now, they do this rule change where it's like, if you're in love or whatever, you can win as a pair or whatever the fuck. And then they have to, I liked all this, like, pretending to be into each other in order to keep getting support from the public. That I liked all of that. I thought that was really clever because I think we all know how, like, a lot of these celebrity marriages or whatever, they're all just for show. They're all just to better each other's career, and a lot of them don't really care for each other, or, you know, they're just doing what is good and benefits their image rather than what they really want. And I thought that was something interesting to add. And like poor Liam Hemsworth in the background watching on telly at home, you know, I bet he wished he hadn't fucked off Miley Cyrus. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's a good point about the couple stuff. I didn't think about that, but that's smart.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a nice commentary. Then what else have I got here that we can? Yeah, the fucking doggo at the end, the big dog at the end. What the? They look fucking dreadful. These like monsters that come out and get. They're just shit looking. Like really crap.
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about them, but speaking of the end, I will say that they tried really unsuccessfully, in my opinion, to try to give the big bully guy a little bit of character. Like he didn't really want to do it or something. But it just falls completely flat for me. Like they kill him anyway. I don't know. I think that was the only time.
Right? Like, all the doggos start eating him, and so she shoots him to like spare his, his pain.
Did he deserve it? Because he was kind of a cunt, to be honest. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I'm not being funny, but in the middle of like a life or death situation, I guess any kind of emotional advantage you can gain, is going to only benefit you to help you survive. So, like, can you really blame him for being a dick? And I'm pretty sure he was like from District 1 or 2, right? So they literally
they always win.
They always win, and they specifically train people to enter the Hunger Games. They all come in voluntarily from District 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure they said. So he's sort of been born for it and bred for it as like an offering. So you can feel bad for him,
but still, I don't know. I just find that kind of character archetype really underwritten and kind of shit and boring, and I'm just really tired of seeing it in films, to be honest.
To be fair, to be fair, I don't disagree with you when like you have a character that like has been a bad guy the whole film, and then you're meant to feel bad for them at the end, and it's like, but I've just watched them be an absolute prick for 2 hours. So I really, if anything, I'm glad he's gone. But yeah, I agree with you. It is becoming a bit of a trope, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my last note, Jennifer Lawrence is not my cup of tea. Sorry, that's the last note I have written down. Oh well, besides the fact I've already covered it, but the very last thing I wrote in my notes, actually okay, I guess. Surprised how much I don't hate it. That's the last note I wrote. Did you like?
That's fair.
Did you like the ending where they just sort of they pull the rug from under them and it's like, oh, actually no, you guys have to kill each other now again. Sorry, we know we told you if you're in love we'll let you live, but now you have to kill each other. So they decide to both commit suicide. So neither of them have to kill each other, and they sort of make a statement to the rest of the world that the games are ridiculous and, you know, that they should be outlawed or banned or whatever.
I guess that was a bit of a fresh thing to do for the genre.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But, well, no, but is it though? Like martyrdom, where like I feel like both Running Man and Death Note have like shades of that, where it's like we want to show people the truth of the game, we want to show the game up, we want the game to be banned. I think
that's not new.
Running Man and Death Race have that as well.
What I was going to say is what I thought was interesting was how the people running the games were bending the rules, trying to create a situation that they thought was best for them, really obviously in front of all of the audience. Because I don't think that they bend the rules so much in the other films, like that. That was interesting.
No, I agree. There's no game master, like adding elements in the game as they go. Yeah, I like that element of Hunger Games as well. Well, should we give this bad boy a rating? Because I will say I really like the second one. I'm not going to bore you with it, but I will say I like the second one, and the other ones are all right. I like the world.
I find it interesting that you like the second one because I watched all these films before, and I was just thinking, like, I don't really find them very memorable, actually. Like, I really vaguely remember what happens in the other movies. I just didn't think that they were that amazing. But rating this movie is a bit tricky because I'm trying to be fair to it. Because, I mean, it's not the worst film. It's definitely not the best of this bunch of movies that we've done. But also, to try and see it in where it came from, this like kind of young adult kind of area, this genre. So it's not my cup of tea, but like it's not terrible. I'm leaning towards 6 something.
But I do think give it a 6.
Yeah, but I feel like if 6 is a lot, and I want to give it a bit more of a proper criticism. I don't know. Maybe it should be. I'm leaning towards like 6.3 or something. Not exactly 6.5.
I think you're going to give it more than me. Like I've been rating it highly, but like I still think it's no more than a 6. It's fun, but it's a 6 for me. Anyway.
Should we see? Do you want to find out what it is on?
Yeah,
go on. Sorry,
but I'll give it 7 districts out of
12, which is roughly the same, right? I think.
Yeah, it's
no. What was he looking? I'm looking for the Hunger Games. Okay, 2012 was the year, by the way, which is the year I started university, and also you as well, which is 12 years ago, by the way. It's rated higher than what we're saying. So you said 6, I said 6.3. It is 7.2 out of 10 out of 1 million ratings. I don't know. I guess that kind of makes sense. I was thinking probably it would end up around 7 something. Or I think it's worth that much. I don't know. I guess it makes sense for it to be that rating. What do you think, Tobias?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I still think 6 is probably the fairest. What do you mean? Maybe 6.3 is the fairest. But yeah, I can see what it's definitely overrated. It's definitely overrated. Maybe that's why I've always had a problem with it, and I've always sort of avoided watching it. But I know it's overrated. I know it's not as good as people say it is. But let's be honest, it was way better than I was expecting it to be. And that was a nice surprise. It was a nice surprise. So I'm going to stick to my rating of a 6, but, you know, fair play that it got a 7 or whatever it was, because, you know, most of these things on IMDb are overrated to fuck anyway. Like, you look at Shawshank Redemption, it's the highest rated film on IMDb. It's like, but it's not the best film ever made. It's not bad, it's just not great. Or it's just not that great anyway. So yeah, if I'm honest, IMDb ratings, you know, they're not the most reliable source. But fair. I'm not surprised it got that higher score, but I'm sticking to my 6.
Yeah, I was just thinking that a lot of people haven't watched as many similar films as we have. At least you before this, definitely you. So you could already see how it could be overrated, because you've already seen that there are many other films already like this. A lot of other people, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever seen something like this. And I guess, yeah, it's that young adult genre. I don't know, like, it was brand new to them, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So maybe that's partly why it's so highly rated. But yeah, let's wrap this one up, I guess. Do you have any last words?
Hang on. Let me say something. You know what? That's a really good point to make. I never really considered that. Maybe this is a really, really fresh story for some people, that they hadn't seen anything like this before. So for them, it's actually a really unique take on sort of the young adult fiction genre. So, yeah, I hadn't really considered that. That's actually a really good point to make.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting. Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is the end of our, what's it called? Deathmatch Summer, as I'm now branding it. What are we doing next, Tobias? I think we have some episodes here and there, but it's kind of a bit of a muddle at the minute.
Well, we will be doing... Stay tuned, guys, because we will be responding to Deadpool soon. We've went and watched all the Deadpool films, and we've went and watched a new one. So we'll do an episode on that coming up soon, shortly. And Craig has very graciously allowed me to do Arnold Schwarzenegger month, which, let's be honest, it's insane we haven't done it already. But yeah, we're going to do Arnie month shortly, so stay tuned for that. I think we're going to I think maybe Conan the Barbarian will be the first one we do, and then we'll move on to some more obscure ones. Because I love Arnie so much, I'm definitely going to throw as much shit as at the wall with Craig standing in that room as I can, and let's see if anything sticks to him. But yeah, Arnie month coming soon, and I really hope we can do another cage match. We haven't done one in a while, but we haven't discussed that. But yeah, that's what's coming soon and shortly. And if any of that sounds fun to you guys, please tune in, follow along, and yeah, we love you like a fat kid loves cake.
Very much so. Take care, guys. Bye.
Shrapnel.